Welcome into the DML Network. It's your boy XPERT, and I got another episode of the bye week, and this is a special edition of the bye week because we only have one user on the call today, and he's got a lot to talk about with his roster, with this league. And so without further ado, let me bring the head commission himself, Mr. Nasty Noop. What's going on, Noop?
Not too much. Happy to be here.
All right, man. The commish of the Dynasty, 5 years strong. You got one of the top PS4 sim leagues, and we got to talk about your football team for the first time in a long time because the Atlanta Falcons right now in first place in the NFC South. What's it feel like finally being in that competitive role, knowing I got a chance to win this division?
It's good to be competitive, but I'm not 100% sold that I should be in this position at this particular time. Just based off the roster that's currently in place and me knowing how the team is playing on the field every week, just don't think that I will be here at the end of the season. But I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna fight, to try to make the playoffs this season. But man, it's good. I got a tough schedule going into the back half of the season. As everyone knows, thanks to Hamiltop, who went down and did a complete thesis breakdown on the first half of my season, stating that I haven't played anyone with a winning record. That'll end outside the Chargers, who I lost to because of a late fumble. In my opinion, I should have won that game, but I'll move on from that. But we got the Bears coming up after the bye week, and then we run into a lot of heavy hitters in the DML.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that schedule here real soon, but let's dive into this roster first off. And you got to start at the QB position, and you got Matt Ryan, 35 years old, still playing for you. Do you have the quarterback of the future on the roster? I'm going to say you don't, but do you feel like if Matt Ryan went down that the season would be over for this Atlanta Falcons team?
The season would be over the second he hit the ground. I'll be honest with you. The backup was just a player I had to pick up just to fill the 53-man roster.
Wow. Which running back is the guy that goes forward? Because you have a young core in this backfield. Is Freeman the odd man out?
To be honest with you, Devontae Freeman is the engine that makes his offense go. If he's not going, then his offense stalls to a halt. And at this point, I'm trying to make some moves. We just brought in Barrios from the Jacksonville Jaguars practice squad to put into the slot. So we're trying to, open up the offense a little bit more because, as stated, I've learned that at this point, I can't depend on my defense, and I'm going to have to go out and score a lot of points somehow. So I've got to figure out how to open up this offense.
A lot of people question the move when you let Julio Jones go, not having a true number one. Has Calvin Ridley stepped up and taken over that spot? Or do we see Deion Collins, your young rookie out of USC, who now has the double me X factor? He's a superstar. You want to talk about a kid that's got all the intangibles, short, medium, deep route, guy can catch, very quick player at 6'3". Is he taking over that number one spot, or is Calvin Ridley still up there?
Well, Deion will be the number one wide receiver moving forward. We've been waiting for a couple weeks for that X factor to get turned on, and then we're going to go out and try to burn up the league. At the time that I traded Julio, I was nervous. And going into the draft, I had zero intentions of drafting another wide receiver. My goal was to draft the defensive end that was taken, I believe, number 2 overall, Marlon, who went to the Colts. He was like number 1 on my board. Well, no, he was the number 1 defensive player on my board. Deion was the number 1 overall player on the board. And to be honest with you, I was very surprised that he was still on the board. So there was no way that I was gonna pass him up. And I know why he fell to number 15 because there's a lot of people in this league that are speed whores, and he's not that fast. But he will give you that he does have that wiggle in the hips to get open. So, and now that the X Factor is on, we're gonna see what he can do against some real competition.
If you had to grade your offensive line halfway through your season here, what would you give them?
In the run game, I'm gonna give them an A. in the past game, I've got to give them a C minus, and that's being very generous. I might even go as far as giving them an F, because in the past game they really don't give me any time to throw the ball, and it was very evident against our last game against the Broncos. They lived in my backfield. He had a nice blitz scheme that took me a little while to make adjustments to, that I finally adjusted to with under a minute left in the game to go up and win that game and pull it out. So the offensive line is horrible.
You have a young offensive line, but is that a focus going into this next draft?
Going into this cycle, we have a new draft philosophy. It is to draft the number one player, the best available player on our board, no matter what position that is. So if it happens to be offensive line, then we'll fill that hole. But if it's any other position, we'll take that player, fit them into the scheme, and if it becomes too much of we have too many players at that position, we'll look to trade them in the future or trade one of the older players at that position. But we're no longer going to feel need anymore because we got into too many issues because we started to reach for players. So it's brought in a new GM with a new philosophy.
When you look at this defensive line, are you disappointed that these four guys aren't getting you pressure?
I'm disappointed in two of them. I'm disappointed in McKinley, and I'm disappointed in I can't think of my defensive tackle's name right now.
Grady Jarrett.
I'm disappointed in them two. The other one is a rookie, and the other guy is just some trash I had to pick up to fill the 53-man roster. So I really didn't expect too much out of the latter two. But the first two, I expected a whole lot more. It has me up at night dreaming about Bradley Gales, wishing that here comes today.
Yeah, he's over there in Madden 19 if you want to go over there and play with it.
Yeah, I know. So,
do you feel like because those four guys aren't getting you pressure, you got to find a way to maybe manufacture some with these linebackers? Because you got Avery Williamson, you still got Deion Jones, you got Duke Riley, some guys that maybe can get some pressure, but it puts your secondary in a bind. But do you feel like you got to create pressure now with those front seven?
I can't even get pressure with the front seven, so I've had to pretty much change the defense up and try to get coverage sacks, which has been very difficult because just like in the real NFL with the real Falcons, we get exposed in the passing game to where even subpar quarterbacks are throwing for 300 or 400 yards against us. I've tried everything. I'm staying in the lab trying to make adjustments to the defense, new schemes, new everything. But when I try to blitz from the left, it leaves a huge hole on the right side that gets exposed because there's no pressure. The defensive line is just stuck to the O line, which just causes so many problems.
You got, outside of Keanu Neal, you got an aging secondary. Is that a concern as you look at these last 8-9 games of the year?
Not so much. I'll be honest with you. We have May and we have Keanu who are covering up a lot of holes. I know the Saints, they hate Keanu Neal because he comes up and he lays that wood, and he's caused many fumbles against them, but it's few and far between against other teams. So I'm not so concerned about my safeties. I'm really concerned about when you get down to the third and fourth cornerback. They're getting exposed. Plus, we have a couple injuries at that position that we can't replace because we lack the cap space. So who's here is who's going to be in the game.
All right, before we get to the I want to say the NFC South war that we had the other day, let's look at this schedule. And you come out the gate week 1 and you just take a beat down against the Panthers. Did that wake you up this year because you went on a little 3-game win streak after that?
It did. It got me back in the lab to try to figure out how to adjust and to stop the run. When you're dealing with White Lightning, all the juking and jiving and all the other stuff, it kind of sucks the players in to where, it kind of he gets I'll say like a sort of advantage. So I had to go in the lab and try to figure out how to stop that running game, which we kind of did for like a 3 or 4 game, spread. But then we started getting exposed again, which I'm having to kind of tighten it back up because we have them coming up, and the Panthers coming up in, I believe, 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, and then after the 3-game win streak, you're feeling good about yourself, and then you get C-Rob and the comeback king with the Buccaneers, and you take a close game, a game that you didn't play very well in, but you couldn't really hang your head because you had the Chargers coming right after that. A game that you said you should have won. Do you feel like those are the games that are going to cement your legacy in Madden 20? When you got a guy like the Chargers who plays in the Super Bowl and you have a chance to beat him and you just can't get the plays done. Does those games hurt a little bit more than the rest of them?
Yeah, that one hurt a lot because I believe I had the perfect game plan going into that game. I went into that game thinking I'm going to run the ball down his throat, take Joey Bosa out the game, and pass only when I need to. And that game plan was working. I believe I was averaging like over 5 yards a carry. So we get under a minute left in the fourth quarter. I'm pretty much setting up to get in the field goal range, and then we running up the middle, and then Deontay Freeman fumbles the ball. I get upset. I get back on defense with a minute left, and I lose focus, and he throws a deep bomb to go up, and we don't even get to go to overtime. So I try to keep my emotions out of the game this cycle. I'm trying to be more, even keel throughout the entire game, even if Madden is doing stuff that just upset me to the 10th power. But I try to stay even keel because I believe that any time with the offense that I'm putting in place that I can come back because I believe we're a balanced team.
You come back after that Chargers game and you go on another 3-game win streak to get into the bye week against the Saints, Vikings, and Broncos. Now, sitting in the bye week in first place, you talked about coming out versus the Bears, a team that the bus has got balling right now. But after the Bears, let's take a look at this roster. Week 12, you got the Seahawks, a game you got to feel like you're favored in with this team. Then you get to see an old friend, Mr. Andy Force and the Raiders, who's playing up and down, more up than down for sure, and he's been kind of quiet. But another game that you feel you're in, and then you got that Week 14 matchup. How big is it to beat the Panthers in Week 14?
Well, this is his Super Bowl. He looks forward to this game. Hamilton knows that he's probably never going to make the playoffs. He's probably never going to make, to the big game, the actual Super Bowl. So him playing me and beat me is very important to him. And at this point, he's woke me up. So I have one mission and one mission only, and that's to beat him and to shut him the hell up. I'm not sure where Hamilton has gotten all this, what's the word I'm looking for?
All this juice?
Yeah, all this juice from. Because if he tells the truth, I've been whooping that ass since he's been here, and for him to be able to get 2 or 3 wins and him to get all happy and all this other stuff, I just don't understand where this is coming from. Now, and I say this because you may win out the box because you have a team that's coming, that's pretty good out the box or whatever.
Yeah.
But over the cycle, your GM skills, and we've both been here a while, I don't think he has the GM skills to keep a top-notch team. So, I tell him now, if you beat me now, talk your game because at some point I'm coming. I told the Saints the same thing last year when he won the division, and I came in this year and I swept him in both games. Me and C-Rob, we're probably going to go back and forth because we've been playing together so long, and we kind of know each other's game. He loves his comeback stuff now, and he loves the the up and in routes now. So, been working to, get some defenses in place to take that away from him. Along with putting some offensive plays in to take away what I'm starting to see that he likes to do on defense.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Then
you finished the year Packers and the Chiefs, 2 very tough games. Even though KP not playing the best football right now, it's still KP. What do you have to have your record sitting at to make the playoffs in the NFC?
I believe I have to have 10 wins to make the playoffs. So I'm gonna have to be sitting at 10-6. I believe to win the division and to make the playoffs.
Can you get 10 wins with this remaining schedule?
I believe so. It's going to be very tough.
You only need 4 wins. Nope. 4 wins in these last 8 games,
See,
7 games.
the problem is I've looked at my opponents, and outside of maybe the Bears and the Panthers, everyone is pass happy. So I'm running into a part of the schedule that does not benefit the current roster on the defensive side of the ball. So that is what gives me pause as a saying of guaranteeing that I can win 4 games and make it to the playoffs. Now, if over the latter half of the season, somehow, some way I'm able to start getting a pass rush, I make the proper adjustments to get that pass rush, then all bets are off. I have no problem guaranteeing a playoff appearance this year.
Do you look at the other NFC South schedules and try and gauge where they're going to finish?
No, not really. I haven't even looked at my schedule, to be honest with you. Like, whatever's on the screen, the games that are there, those are the ones that I've looked at. Just trying to stay one game at a time and stay focused. Making my game plans going into each week. I never want to get too far ahead of myself because that's when I start to make mistakes.
Who's the biggest threat in the NFC South?
Currently, I'll have to say, for me personally, or are you talking about overall in the NFC South?
In the NFC South, who do you look at and say, I gotta beat that guy twice a year to make sure I have a chance to win this division?
Right now, I'll be very honest. I believe Hamilton is my kryptonite, just because of White Light. He is my kryptonite, based off him being able to run the ball the way that he does, and me not currently having the personnel to combat that. So he is the guy that keeps me up at night right now.
When we look back at Madden 20 at the end of this cycle, are people going to look back and say Nasty Noop ran the NFC South for that cycle? Or do you feel like it's going to be I get one, he gets one kind of thing?
I believe with the new GM style that we brought into Atlanta this cycle, I believe that once we get maybe 3 more seasons under our belt, I believe, and I may be giving locker room bulletin board stuff to my opponents in the NFC South, but I think I'm gonna run this division, man, because I think I have a great plan as to how I'm gonna build this team. Going right now, I believe that I may never be able to build the defense that I want. I'm hoping that I'm able to get the players in here, but right now I'm more offensive focused in being able to outscore my opponents. I'm using what I like to call the KP method. I'm gonna go get the guys that can go out and make plays and try to outscore you.
Do we see Noop in the playoffs this year?
Most definitely. You might see him in a couple of weeks. You might see him in the playoffs.
Who in this NFC, if you had to pick a matchup for you in the first round of the playoffs, would you like to see guaranteeing you a chance to win?
Oh man.
Here are the teams. You got the Bears, the Packers, the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Eagles, and yourself if the playoffs started right now.
Probably go with the 49ers. I played him close last season.
Yeah.
And he has a crutch that I found out the last time I faced him, that if I took away that crutch, I believe that I could compete against him, just based off the personnel that he has on the defensive side of the ball and him having to face up against my wide receivers.
I like it. This is the Noop I've been waiting to get in Madden from back in the 16. Now, it's not the same as 16, because 16, you was a goon in Dynasty. But to be competitive and fighting for this division is something we all want to see. Now, when you saw Hamilton go at you on Twitter, what was your first reaction?
I'll be honest, I was kind of pissed. I was like, hey, man, where was this same fire when the Saints was winning last season? You didn't say anything to him. now you want to go write a dissertation and post it
Yeah.
in the chat about my record? I'm like, where was this same fire? But he hit me up. We're good. I don't take any of that stuff too serious, but
Yeah.
it does. Like, I'll be honest, just a few minutes ago before we even got on this interview, I was in the lab working on some new stuff, testing out some new things. This is the first time, probably since Madden 16, that I've actually decided, put in a plan that I'm actually going to get in the lab and try to compete. Because from 17 on, it's always been about, let's do the content, let's do this, let's do that, and I put my competitive side to the back burner. But I actually want to try to win this year because I actually enjoy playing this game, because it requires you to go in and actually have to have a game plan when you go up against different teams around the league, because these X factors are game changers, man. I'll be honest with you. So I enjoy that part of it. I enjoy the chess part of it. I don't enjoy the video game part of it. I enjoy the chess aspect of it. So I enjoy that, and I'm having fun this cycle. Even though the game has a lot of flaws or whatever, but I still love it.
What message do you have for the NFC South before we get out of here?
The crown is coming back to Atlanta, baby. The crown has been gone for 4 or 5 cycles, but the crown is coming back to Atlanta. It's gonna crown me the king of the South again, baby, like T.I. That's gonna be my theme music this cycle.
I'd like to extend the invitation to the NFC South guys, Hamilton, C. Rob, Marizi. If you'd like to jump on the bye week, hit your boy XPERT up, because we gave the Falcons a chance, a platform. We want to make sure we're fair to everybody else. But you heard it here first on the bye week. Nasty Noop says the NFC South belongs to him, and the crown is coming home, courtesy of those Atlanta Falcons. Without Julio Jones and with a aging quarterback, I'm pretty sure we're going to see a new guy at the helm here real soon in Atlanta. But Noop, man, appreciate the time. Always a pleasure when you and I get to do a show where you're on this side of the mic versus in the background doing all the graphics and stuff, man. Appreciate you jumping on the bye week.
No doubt. One thing before I go, man, I want to let all the dudes in the NFC South know the one-trick pony stuff, it's not going to work against me. I will adjust. I will come back, and I will tell Marizi that one-trick pony stuff ended kind of soon for you. I want to say Hamilton, you're next, and then we're coming for you, C. Rob. So, it is what it is.
The homie Nasty Noop throwing out shots here on the bye week. He says, I want all the smoke from you guys. Bring it if you can. On behalf of the DML Network, it's your boy XPERT, and we out.